That's a heck of a range for an auction.
Yes.
A heck of a range, and for the companies involved, a heck of a high-stakes game. In fact, this auction could be a matter of life and death for today's phone companies.
It's a really very tough decision for these large companies who have been regulated monopolies for the last 50, 60 years, and now all at once face a new technology, face the decisions, you know, like we saw in computers 30 years ago. Should IBM be a tabulating company forever, or should IBM go into computers? IBM did and had 30 years of being a great company. Other companies who were way ahead of IBM in electronics at the end of World War II decided not to go into computers. Sperry Rand, do we know who they are anymore?
Thus, the bidders are under intense pressure, which the government is trying to exploit to maximize its take. So, the FCC has created an elaborate auction, simultaneously selling off 2 PCS licenses in each of the country's 51 calling areas, in a process that could take weeks, even months. There are booths on site where you can log in your bid, or if you prefer, the FCC has operators standing by to take your call. Finally, you can log into the FCC computer from any location, no matter how remote.
Remember when Sprint's fiber optic network just meant a great phone call?
Sprint is not only using fiber optic lines, but according to the New York Times, is submitting encrypted bids over them. Quote, from a sealed war room at a secret location somewhere in Kansas City. Security is so tight that visitors are blindfolded when driven to the site, unquote. But everybody, no matter where they are, plays by the same rules, as Gina Keeney of the FCC explained.
First week, you bid once a day. The second week, we'll have 2 rounds. And the bidding stays open on all the markets until each one is closed. In other words, New York, the bidding on New York won't close until the bidding on American Samoa closes, for example.
And speaking of American Samoa, Lynnea Bylund Dalton is president of the South Seas Satellite Communications Corporation, bidding on one of the 2 available PCS licenses for that remote outpost of the American market. Somewhat less secretive than Sprint, she shared her strategy with NewsHour reporter Ron Dunsky.
How much did you bid?
We started very low. We started at $6.
$6? 6 American dollars? Are you serious?
Correct.
Why so low?
We really don't know what these licenses are going for. We don't know what this particular license will be going for, so we wanted to start low. That's part of our strategy. We've been working with game theorists to put a strategy together, and we felt that coming in, opening with a very low bid was the way to go, and then we can see how others bid.
Now, the South Seas Satellite strategy in American Samoa was fairly straightforward. As her game theorists advised her, even a measly $6 bid would keep Bylund Dalton in the game. And if no one countered, snag a license covering 50,000 people for the price of a pina colada. But the big players have a more complex bidding problem. Not only how much to bid, but also how many markets in which to bid. So they need more complex game theory. And to explain that, we need a few more moments of your time. Plus, 2 leading game theorists, Adam Brandenburger of Harvard and Barry Nailbuff of Yale, who agreed to show us the kinds of exercises they've been putting their multi-billion-dollar clients through to sharpen their bidding savvy. Again, they talk in dollars per person in the lingo per pop.
One question is, how aggressive should you bid? How many licenses should you bid for? Let's take a specific case. 2 markets, Boston and Philadelphia. Let me be AT&T. I'm the bidder who values licenses the most. I value them at $10 a pop.
And Adam?
I'll be Sprint. I'm the smaller of the 2 players. Let's say $9 a pop for me.
So the state of play at the moment, 2 bidders left, and in Boston, AT&T has the top bid, $7 per pop. In Philadelphia, it's Sprint at $7 a pop. Plays to you, AT&T, what do you do?
What can I do? I've got to bid.
Now, what happens next seems inevitable. Each player bids up to his limit, and the one with the higher limit, in this case Barry Nailbuff representing AT&T, wins. And that's the way it should be, right? Wrong, said the game theorist.
I won, but not really. I got 2 licenses for $19. They're worth $20. That's only a profit of 1. When we started out, I had 1 license at $7. It was worth $10. That was a profit of 3. I lost $2 in the process.
So what would a game-savvy player have done?
Let's roll back the clock. AT&T, what should you have done? Do nothing. Sit on my hands. Take advantage of the fact that I've got a great license at $7 and making $3, and not try and raise the bids anymore.
And what should you have done, Sprint, had AT&T done nothing?
I certainly shouldn't escalate the bidding. I'm in the weaker position anyway. If AT&T is going to stand pat, that's the best thing for me too.
And this is just what these guys have been teaching their big clients. How and why to exercise restraint. That they could easily be better off with fewer licenses, but for far less money. A result of game theory's basic technique: you put yourself in the other person's shoes to anticipate his or her reaction, and thus perhaps make a very different decision in the auction, a different bid. Meanwhile, back at Samoa, round one was over, and the South Seas strategy had yielded some clues as to the license's value. The $6 bid had been topped by one competitor at $10,000. The leader was up at $30,000. What lies ahead for South Seas Satellite?
In the end, how much money do you think you're going to have to spend?
I don't want to give away my strategies.
Right.
In fact, virtually every bidding strategy had a game theorist or two behind it, partly a result of game theory being hot this year, having just won the Nobel Prize in economics. But the most significant game playing went on before the auction even began, as big corporations, the regional bell companies, long-distance carriers, cable TV and cellular firms, formed alliances to build the national networks consumers presumably want. To Barry Nailbuff, that's the real message of game theory in this case.
It's not about beating other people. It's not even how you play the game. It's what game you play. And if you're not playing the right game, you better change it, and game theory helps you understand how.
Indeed, that's just what the many bidders seem to have done by building alliances, which have exercised enormous restraint in the bidding so far. After the first round, bids totaled only $379 million. At the end of 2 months now, a mere $4.5 billion, only about $45 per U.S. household. But it's still early. The promise of PCS remains. A Russian delegation was picking up pointers for its PCS auction. The bidding booths were full. And these days, everywhere you look, it seems, there are new signs of the wireless bonanza.
Again, the major stories of this Friday: President Clinton proposed raising the minimum wage 90 cents over the next 2 years to $5.15 an hour. And the nation's unemployment rate went up last month 0.3% to 5.7%. Good night, Robin.
Good night, Jim. That's the NewsHour for tonight, and we'll see you again on Monday night. I'm Robert MacNeil. Good night.
Funding for the MacNeil-Lehrer NewsHour has been provided by the Archer Daniels Midland Company. With ADM ingredients in thousands of consumer products, it's no wonder ADM is called supermarket to the world. And by New York Life, yet another example of the wise investment philosophy New York Life has been following for the last 150 years, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by the annual financial support from viewers like you.